Welcome to the ProBrick exclusive YouTube channel with Reverend Dr. Jason W. Morrison, theologist. I'm just going to clean the lens. The Bible's a pretty hard book to interpret when you get down into the meat and potatoes of it. And I want to share with you, be careful who you listen to in your life. Now, there's a situation in 1 Samuel where God chose the first king of Israel and he used a prophet to do it. But what I don't understand is the guy that he picked was a goat farmer who had no clue of what it would be like to be a king. And that's unfair. And it didn't go well. Went on to cost him his life. His sons, one son his life. And all sorts of disarray took place. But a lot of the problem wasn't just the guy as king. It was also the prophet got a lot of stuff wrong. One of the things that he got wrong was Samuel had to wait for the prophet to turn up. In one instance, I can't remember it now, something to do with an offering. And Samuel waited and the prophet never showed up on time. Saul, this is Saul. The prophet was Samuel. Saul was the king, excuse me. Saul had to wait for the prophet, Samuel. And Samuel just did not turn up on time. And then Saul took it upon himself, because the prophet was late, to make a burnt offering. Now, when the prophet finally turned up, he rebuked Saul, and Saul got in trouble for all sorts of stuff. It wasn't good. But I wouldn't blame Saul for feeling confused, very confused and let down, because the prophet just didn't show up on time. Where was this prophet? Why didn't he show up on time? Why did he say one thing and do another? What happened to his word? Why did he let Saul down? Why didn't he show up on time? I hate people that are late. I don't know about you, but I hate it, and stuff it. That's just how it is for me. If you're late, you're going to be told. Now, this was a major turning point in Saul's life. Yes, Saul, because Samuel was the prophet, that's right. This was a major turning point in Saul's life because he got in trouble, he got rebuked, he got reprimanded, he got disciplined, and he got punished. And I think this was the first instance where the kingdom that he was king of was taken off him by God. But what the problem was, whilst Saul was privately anointed as king and publicly declared as king, Samuel the prophet didn't have the courage to denounce him as king to the people. So while he was spiritually not anointed as king at this point, because God told him that the kingdom was stripped off him, the people thought he was still the king, but the poor bugger wasn't. So you've got this goat farmer as king, who shouldn't be king now. He's buggered it up because the prophet was late. That's what shits me. That really makes me angry. The prophet was late and the king thinking he was doing the right thing, although he didn't, got punished for somebody else being late. And that wasn't fair. How was that justified? If you read the story of the first book of Samuel, and you get down to the meat and potatoes and just don't blindly read it, you will see that everything you read in the Bible, you can't just read black and white. You can't. You'll be deceived. There's things in the Bible that need incredible discernment, like real unusual discernment, to understand the reasons behind and truths thereof, consequences thereof. Why did Saul get so fiercely punished for somebody else being late? I have difficulty with that. Why do people in relationships get punished for outside people's interferences? Relationship is built by two people. Not every other Tom, Dick and Harry that wants to stick their nose in. And that seems to be a part of the trend today. There's nothing more glorious than being in a relationship with somebody that knows the boundaries and privacy of the thing. And to be honest, there's nothing worse than being in a relationship with somebody that hasn't got a clue of the boundaries and privacy of the thing. Here, right, and this is what I'm trying to say, Saul, if you look and read the story, man, you got to have really good discernment. The prophet was completely out of order, but even though he was out of order, he still had the authority to get Saul into extraordinary trouble, like serious, deep, horrible trouble. He was there on time, he had everything ready, but no prophet turned up. And where it's hard, really hard, is if you're doing the right thing in your relationship, you're looking for resolve, you're doing all the right things, and the next thing you're getting stuffed around and messed around by people that haven't got the character or the know-how or the value to participate in that relationship the right way. You need to be aware of what's going on around you. You have to be aware. It's your responsibility to be aware of what's going on around you in the relationship. You have to. It's not an option. It's not a half chance or a fucking guessing game. You have to know yourself well enough to know if the people you're involved with are playing their part right, or are you, in street terms, just being mucked around. Which brings me to the question, who is the prophet of your life? Who is the person that you're subject to in your life? Who is that person that you're allowing to guide your life legitimately able and responsibly mature enough to do it? Here we had a prophet of God that couldn't even organize himself well enough to direct the king of the nation. He couldn't do it. He didn't know what it was like to be on time. He could not do it. And it cost. Now, if you're putting your principles and core beliefs, right, if you're jeopardizing your relationship, be it with God or anybody else, in the hands of people who had no right at all to be guiding you or anybody else, for that matter, because they can't manage them silly selves, why would you be so stupid to be misled by the bias that you want? You have to take counsel from people that are proven. Well, you should. You don't. You can do whatever you like. But if you're being manipulated and controlled, and the direction of your life is being changed by the dark triad biases, right, of people that can't even manage themselves, let alone anybody else, you will get what you deserve. You will reap from the level of character and personality that that person is carrying out in their life. And that could be severely consequential to you. If somebody's leading you in the right direction and you haven't got the intelligence or life experience to see that, and by way of bloodline, or some kind of twisted domestic bond, you're allowing people to manipulate your life by way of demonic behavior, right? People that don't really have the authority to do that in the first place, just children, basically. Hello, mate. Just children, basically. Self-centered, selfish, egotistical, undeveloped, infantile, know everything, which is this generation today. Children. Good luck to you. Good luck to you. Because Samuel the prophet didn't play his part as a representative of God. And people paid for it. Paid a big price for it. Paid a high price for it. It caused them to make rash decisions. It caused them to change the destiny of what they were supposed to do. By way of the negligence of somebody else. And that's not fair. And it happens every day. People are following negligent people. Don't follow negligent people. Because negligence begets negligence, and it gets its reward. Destruction. That's all negligence brings on people. You won't hear preachers or ministers speak about the Bible like this because it conflicts with the psychological positive narrative that they've got to spin about the Bible. But the prophet Samuel, when you look right through the book of Samuel, was an absolute disaster. I'm sorry, but that's what he was. And the trouble that it caused on the lives of the people that he was supposed to be leading was disgraceful. It was catastrophic. It caused death of thousands, destruction, humiliation. And today, I'm going to challenge you. Who is leading your life? Honestly, who? And where is it getting you? Because I think if you have a real honest examination of who's influencing you and where you're getting your influence from, you'll be embarrassed. You might even be shocked to admit that yourself that you might have actually allowed yourself to be deceived. Manipulation is the main cause of dysfunction and misleading for people today. They come under the control of people who have no right to be leading them anyway. They hand themselves over to the control of people who have no right to lead anyone anywhere because they can't lead themselves. And it's disgraceful. And in a lot of cases it's parents with their children. I'm sorry, I've got to go down this road again. Too many parents have spoiled their children, and now their children are the parents and the parents are the children. And it's a disgrace. It's a disgrace to the parents. But when things are breaking down in marriages and the only person left that the parents got to turn to is the child, if you give a child too much authority, it'll run away with it because it's not the place of the child. Now, who am I being critical of here? The parent or the child. It has to come back to the parent. If you look at Samuel the prophet's children, they were taken out by the Lord. They weren't raised right. They took advantage of the people. They were put into the priesthood, I think, if I remember rightly. Or was that... No, that could have been Eli's children. Yeah. They got punished for misbehaviour with the people. I'm not sure what happened to Samuel's children, but you've got to be careful what position you put your children in. You just can't go plomping people, your mindfulness, into the hands of people that are not capable of navigating it to suit an attitude or a domestic formation that's going to help nobody because you think it's meeting your end, and it's not. Samuel didn't play his part, and it cost a lot. It cost the whole fucking nation. People got punished for things they didn't even do wrong because somebody was late. The person with the authority was late, so everybody else had to pay. Are you using your authority as a parent the way a parent should? Or are you submitting your authority to children? Eli, the priest, submitted his authority to his children. He let them run all over him, and they got taken out by the Lord. And the damage that they did before that happened was insurmountable. Read the story. It's in the opening chapters of 1 Samuel. If you look at Samuel, we don't know much about his father, because Samuel was handed over to Eli the priest by his mother. And the great modern day attack is on the discipline of the father. It doesn't make sense to people today. They want to spare the rod and spoil the child. It's an absolute joke. An epidemic, a serial epidemic running through our societies. The undermining of male authority. I don't think anybody should have an iron fist. That's not what I'm saying. But there's a spiritual power that comes from a well-adjusted man to his children. Who, as an adult, as a parent, are you allowing to direct your life? What principles and values are you running your life by? Because it's not only going to affect you like it did Eli, it's going to affect your children. If you're giving away your authority to your children, you can expect disaster. Not only on them, but on yourself. I'll continue this in the next talk. This is Reverend Dr. Jason W. Morrison, theologist, New South Wales, Australia. Bye for now.